Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy being here so much. I do have a book that I brought to give you today. My lovely wife, Dawn, right here, will be at the table over there to my left. And I think I have enough for everyone in here who doesn't already have this. So please stop by and receive that gift from me. And I sure hope you enjoy it.
Wow.
I want to talk to you today about something that I think we can all benefit from tremendously. And that is, the title is The Only Battle We Ever Have to Win. And I wonder, when I say that, what comes to mind for you? What do you think about if I said there really is only one battle you have to win? What do you think that is?
The battle with yourself.
It's certainly that, but more specifically,
Our ego.
the battle of the mind. Yes, our minds. And it really does come down to that. If we win the battle of our mind, if we get to the place where we manage our thoughts, and that's what it is, it's management, the quality of our lives can increase exponentially. Now, I wonder how many of us, among us today, have unquiet minds.
You want us to raise
How many of you have constant thoughts, frantic? How many of you have negative thoughts? How many of us are engaged in this battle and we're not even really aware of it? And we're so passive. We're just think, whatever's going on in there that's what's going on. We have no control over it. There's nothing we can do. And in that moment of thinking that, we've lost. We've lost the battle. I want to open today with a reading from a film that I like a lot. The film is called Adaptation. Anyone seen it? This person wrote this book called The Orchid Thief. It was a bestseller. Amazing international bestseller. And one of the most creative, unique, intelligent screenwriters in the world was hired to adapt it. Because everybody assumed it was pretty impossible to adapt this book. So he took this book, a nonfiction book about an orchid thief, and he turned it into a movie called Adaptation, which is actually about the process of adaptation. And he wrote himself into the film. So it stars this screenwriter who's trying to adapt this book. It's brilliant, so smart. But it opens with his thoughts. And in all of cinematic history, to me, this is one of the best capturing of neurotic thinking that's ever been. See if you agree. Do I have an original thought in my head? My bald head? Maybe if I were happier, my hair wouldn't be falling out. Life is short. I need to make the most of it. Today is the first day of the rest of my life. I'm a walking cliche. I really need to go to the doctor and have my leg checked. There's something wrong. A bump. The dentist called again. I'm way overdue. If I stopped putting things off, I would be happier. All I do is sit on my fat ass. If my ass wasn't fat, I would be happier. I wouldn't have to wear these shirts with the tails out all the time. Like that's fooling anyone. Fat ass. I should start jogging again. 5 miles a day. Really do it this time. Maybe rock climbing. Hello? Maybe rock climbing. I'll just hold it. That's great. Okay. Maybe rock climbing. I need to turn my life around. What do I need to do? I need to fall in love. I need to have a girlfriend. I need to read more, improve myself. What if I learned Russian or something? Or took up an instrument? I could speak Chinese. I'd be the screenwriter who speaks Chinese and plays the oboe. That would be cool. I should get my hair cut short. Stop trying to fool myself and everyone else into thinking I have a full head of hair. How pathetic is that? Just be real. Confident. Isn't that what women are attracted to? Men don't have to be attractive. But that's not true, especially these days. Almost as much pressure on men as there is on women these days. Why should I be made to feel like I have to apologize for my existence? Maybe it's my brain chemistry. Maybe that's what's wrong with me, bad chemistry. All my problems and anxieties can be reduced to a chemical imbalance of some kind, or some kind of misfiring of my synapses. I need to get help for that. But I'll still be ugly, though. Nothing's going to change that. One of the things I think that's so brilliant about this is the way this writer captures some very self-defeating, neurotic, narcissistic, just mess in our minds. And I wonder how many of you can relate to that. I wonder how many of you, maybe you're not having those exact same thoughts, but you're having thoughts like them. Do you get into self-defeating patterns? Do you know that, according to those who are supposed to know these things, humans have about 65,000 thoughts a day? And those same experts say that 90% of the things we think today, we're going to think again tomorrow. 90% of them repeat. Year after year after year, decade after decade after decade. It's a mess. But the thing I came to tell you today is it doesn't have to be. You can have a quiet mind. You can manage your thoughts. It is possible for your mind, instead of being this chaotic, negative prison, can be a garden. It can be a garden where great things happen, where beautiful thoughts happen, where you are inspired, where you think kind things, not only about yourself, but about others. That is possible. The truth is, I am responsible, totally responsible for what happens here. And you are totally responsible for what is going on in your mind. Do we accept that responsibility? Will we step up and say, I am responsible? Now, you know how thoughts work. Thoughts are random. Thoughts are crazy, right? And good God, if we're having 65,000 in a day, there's most thoughts come and they need to just go. We just need to, remember I mentioned earlier about it possibly being a garden. Think about you sitting in the garden of your mind and watching clouds drift by. And those clouds are the thoughts. You can observe them, watch them, and let them float on by. We get into trouble when a thought comes through and we cling to it. We reach for it. We pull it in and we say, hey, let's spend some quality time together. Those negative, harmful, hurtful, damaging thoughts that we embrace like a lover who's bad for us. And we enter into that addiction and that pattern of these thoughts. Marcus Aurelius said, I love this, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The thoughts you're having, I shouldn't say that, not the thoughts you're having, the thoughts you are entertaining, the thoughts you are nurturing, the thoughts you are taking to dinner and having a nice evening with, the thoughts that you are obsessed with are coloring your very soul. Hamlet, one of the greatest plays, if not the single greatest play ever written, in it Hamlet says, what have you, my good friends, deserved at the hands of fortune that she sends you to prison hither? Guildenstern says, prison, my lord? Hamlet, yes, Denmark's a prison. Rosencrantz,
Then the world is one. Hamlet, a goodly one, in which there are many confines, wards, and dungeons. Denmark being one of the worst. Rosencrantz, we think not so, my lord. Hamlet, listen to this. Why then, 'tis none to you. It's not a prison to you. For there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. To me, it is a prison. Your mind can be a prison. Your thoughts can be a prison. It's up to you, managing them. I have a good friend who's a counselor here in town. His name is Dave Lloyd. And he has studied psychology and studied counseling. He's a practicing counselor. And we often talk about these things. And sometimes we do workshops together. And he says, picture your mind as this person who lives on this part of town where through the woods, just through the woods, there's a convenience store. And every single day this person walks over there for beer or cigarettes or Coke or whatever, every single day. And every single day he takes the same path. And that path gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And our thoughts are that way. Those thoughts that we entertain, those thoughts we cling to, those thoughts we hang on to, cause our neural patterns, cause the wrinkles of our brain to get deeper and deeper and deeper. Which, you know what that means? When we try to think other ways, it is a challenge. It is more of a challenge because of the crevice, because of how easy it is to fall, drift into the deep trench that we've created. Perhaps your bad patterns in your thoughts have made these deep trenches. And one day this person wakes up and says, you know, I want to go to a different store. Or maybe I want to go to the same store, but in a different way. And yet, the path is set. Our thoughts are paths. They can be changed. When these negative thoughts bombard us, when we have these things that really do damage to us psychologically, spiritually, physically even, and have us viewing the world, viewing others in such negative ways, when they come, we can get rid of them. We can say, you have no place here. We can say, be on your way. And this is how you do it. Number one, the first and most important thing to realize is that you, this is important, listen to this, you are not your mind. You are not your mind. You have the ability to observe yourself thinking. Your ego, which is your enemy, wants you to think you are your mind. Wants you to be so enmeshed with what is going on up there that there's no separation, that there's no space for observation, where you can't just step back a little bit and observe what's going on. But we do have that ability. We can observe our thoughts. We can observe our minds and the way we think. By being able to do that, it lets us know we are not our minds. Our minds are a part of us, just like every other part of us. But they are not us. The moment we learn that, the moment we begin to look at our minds differently, with some distance, with some space, the moment we begin to silence our ego that says, you are your mind, you are me. That's what the ego is saying. The ego is this just petulant, juvenile, lizard brain, hideous creature living inside of us that wants us to think that that's who we are. And wants us to think that all these negative, horrible things going on up there are really us. But we can step back and we can look at these things more closely. The way we begin to do that is listen, observe, see what's going on in your mind. You realize that there are people, I promise you there are people in here, but there are people all the time who think, man, if I just lived in a different place. Man, if I just had a different relationship. Man, if I just had a different job. And so they do those things. They end a relationship and start another. They quit a job and get another. Sometimes they move across the continent or across the world, and what they find is when they get to those places, The same battle is going on. And we begin to realize that who we're doing battle with it's not those around us. It's not those beside us. It's inside us. They've done studies of people who win the lottery. Have you heard about this? Pretty interesting thing. People who are essentially miserable assholes who win the lottery, 6 months later, are back to being miserable assholes. And people, regardless of the circumstance, who are essentially happy, who choose to be happy, who have catastrophic accidents and are paralyzed or go through all kind of things, after there is a little period of adjustment, but after that adjustment, they find happiness again. They find peace again. It's within us. It is up to us. It is not based on external circumstances. External circumstances can bring temporary happiness, can get a jolt of joy when everything, those moments where everything's great and wonderful and you feel so good and it's like, wow, what a great day, or what a great moment, or I'm so happy to be alive. And the next moment when something bad happens, when something difficult happens, when something challenging happens, we can still be happy. We can still have peace. We can still have that abiding joy if we manage things the right way. So listen, observe, know you are not your mind, watch your thoughts carefully, and then this is an important one. Number 3, ask yourself the following about every single thought you have. Okay? Is this thought true? Why are you just accepting that the thoughts you're having are true? Why would you do that? Most of them are not. Most of them are random and crazy and absurd and no telling where they come from. They're not true. Why do you just accept them as true? Why are we living so passively when it comes to managing our minds? Is this thought important? Does it really matter? There are times where we need to sit down or go for a walk and have a good think. I like thinking. I like figuring things out. The characters I write about are thinkers. I like that. Our minds are amazing, and we put them to amazing use, to be creative, to be kind, to make the world a better place. Our minds are powerful. Some things are important and worth putting this powerful mind that we have to use on, and others are not. And so many times, those spinning kind of thoughts, where our wheels are just spinning, the chaos, sort of like the character that I read about, but even worse, and your thoughts are coming so fast, and there's so much, a lot of times that's where all our energy goes. We get no traction because these thoughts aren't important, they're not worth having, and so we just spin. And day after day after day after day, we were just wasting amazing mental energy. Is the thought helpful? Is it true? Is it important? Is it helpful? Let me tell you something, okay? Your mind and the use of your mind is like anything else. That which you practice, you get better at. Think about the things you excel at. How did that happen? You may have been born with a certain amount of affinity, a certain gift for this thing. But if you got proficient at it, if you got good, it's because you worked at it, because you practiced. I'm a novelist. I make my living writing novels. I have been doing it for over 20 years. If you were to get one of my high school papers, or even one of my early college papers and look at it, you would think, oh my God, this person's in special ed. This is horrible. This is really, really bad. And it was. If you compare that with 20 years of practicing a craft, of learning how to develop character and write dialogue and get better description, and there is no comparison. Now, if you threw me in a kitchen, the best kitchen in the world, with the best implements and pots and pans and whatever else you use in cooking,
and you compared me now to my 18-year-old self, there would be really no growth. No, I would not, that myself, I might could make something, perhaps a little better today than then, but probably not, because I've not practiced it, because it's not something I've spent any time doing. What are you good at? You know, you might be good at some really bad things.
Yeah.
Because you practice them. And when it comes to your mind, if you're practicing bad thoughts, practicing, let me tell you, that bad boyfriend thought that shows up and you know he's going to use and abuse you, he's going to drink all your liquor, he's going to take all your money, he's going to use you and then leave, and you welcome him with open arms every single time. Come on in. If you practice that with your thoughts, with the bad thoughts, with the negative thoughts, with the harmful thoughts, you're going to get really good at that. But if you will decide that your mind is going to be a garden, it's going to be a better place, you can transform the way you think. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Is it possible? It is entirely possible. You can have a quiet mind. You can have an extraordinary mind. Are you willing to practice it? Do you practice peace? Do you practice breathing? Do you practice letting go? Letting go. When it comes to our thoughts and the managing of our minds, one of the things that helps most is meditation. Why? Because in meditation, you are sitting there doing what I talked about earlier, observing. You see a thought come, and what is your job to do?
Get rid of it.
Let it go. You can just watch them come and watch them go. And the moment you sit down to meditate, and you say you want to practice Zazen or some kind of breathing meditation, where all you're doing is trying to join together the physical and the spiritual or mental. So you're breathing in and out. That's all you're doing is breathing in and out. And as you do that and are conscious of that and are aware of that, you're also aware of your thoughts. And you're sitting there, and here comes a thought. And in a moment you sit down, and it may be the most, you've decided you're going to meditate, you're going to be a better thinker, better person, and you sit down and the most obscene thought comes your way. The key is looking at that thought, observing it with no judgment, practicing self-compassion. You see it come, and you let it go. Here they come. Here they go. You can visualize yourself doing it, or you can just actually do it. But some of them will try to come back. You let them go on their way, and they'll try to get back in. Come on, will you? You can sit there and breathe and watch, observe your mind. And in doing that, in practicing that spiritual practice gives you thought management to the extent that when you're in the middle of a crisis, when you're going through your normal daily routine and someone does something that really bothers you and you have a thought that is negative and hurtful and harmful, or you have those about yourself, through this practice, there comes just a little space, a little emotional, psychological, mental, spiritual space where you can say, I am not that thought. I am not my mind. I am not my ego. I recognize that for what it is. I don't judge myself or condemn myself for having it because that thought came just as random as anything else. I'm just going to usher it on its way. Talk about peace. Talk about having the kind of life that we all in here want. Think about, is there anybody that you're jealous of, envious of? They always get the promotion. They always get the best of this, and you're those patterns of envy. What about the way you think about your body, your mind, your life? Is it negative? Is it judgmental? Is it harsh? Is it critical?
Is it your nagging old mom with all her negativity inside your head, and she's saying the same things over and over again, or your dad, or the teacher, or the coach, or the sibling that still says it when they call you up on the phone, but somehow they've invaded your head, and they're sitting there and they're so judgmental, so harsh and cruel, and you just sit there and take it. You don't have to. You absolutely do not have to. Observe, listen, ask yourself, is this true? Is it important? Does this really matter? Realize your ego is your enemy. Live mindful. Live in the moment. Observe these things. And remember this. Watch your thoughts. They become words. Watch your words. They become actions. Watch your actions. They become habits. Watch your habits. They become character. Watch your character. It becomes destiny. And I want to close with this. Christian scriptures, Philippians 4:18. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. In your thought and mind management, it is not simply enough to say, I don't want to have negative thoughts. And if they come, I'm going to get rid of them. You need to replace them with positive ones. Surround yourself with positive people. Put positive things in your mind. And when the negative thoughts come and you banish them, replace them with a positive. You can do it. If it's not being done in my head, I am responsible. And the same is true of you. Thank you very much.